Okie dokie. Thank you for joining me today. In this video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be reviewing what's referred to as an adjective clause. Now, an adjective, for those who are not familiar, are parts of speech in English which are used to modify specifically nouns only. They give additional insights, additional detail about those nouns. Now, when we're referring to a clause, we're talking about a grouping of words. And in the case of an adjective clause, it would be a grouping of words which are used to modify a noun. Oftentimes you'll see it as a subject, or the noun will be the subject of the sentence, but that's not always the case, so just keep that in mind. Now, again, to clarify, here we have an adjective clause. Just to reiterate, are clauses or groups of words that are going to give additional insights or information about a noun in a sentence. Notice I didn't say the subject, just a noun. Okay, so just be aware of that. Now, they often, but they don't always, but they often begin with what's called a relative pronoun. And those relative pronouns are listed here. We have who, whom, which, that, or whose. All right, let's take a look at an example of an adjective clause being used in a sentence. Here we have the book that I borrowed is interesting. Well, okay, I know in this case the subject of my sentence is the book. And I know it is interesting. That's kind of the operative part of the sentence. However, this portion here that's now in bold, I've highlighted, or boldened, excuse me, to accentuate the fact that it is in fact our adjective clause. And you can see here that I borrowed refers back reflexively to the noun, the book. It's telling us more about that book. As an additional note, I would suggest that you should be using adjective clauses in your sentences. It does, add to the character of your writing style. However, if you do not include them, it doesn't actually change the meaning of the sentence. So as an example, if I read the exact same sample sentence without that adjective clause, it does not change the meaning. Listen first. We have the book is interesting. Now I'm going to read it with the adjective clause. The book that I borrowed is interesting. In both cases, I identify the book as being an interesting thing. However, with the addition of that adjective clause, I'm essentially modifying that noun to give you some additional insights into the fact that the book, in this case, is something that I borrowed. It's not necessary for you to know that, but in this case, I've decided, it's something you might want to know. Okay, moving on into our 5 sample sentences, what we're going to do is identify our adjective clause as well as the noun that it's being used to modify. All right, so sentence number 1, which reads, the project that we completed took 3 weeks. Okay, what's our subject? Well, I know I'm talking about the project. And kind of what's the main messaging of the sentence itself? Well, I'm trying to tell you that it took 3 weeks. Okay, I do see here that there is a relative pronoun that, so that we completed, and this part sticks out to me because what it's doing, in fact, it's behaving as our adjective clause, and it's telling us more about which noun. In this case, it's our subject, the project. I'm letting you know that we've completed it. However, again, if I choose not to include that, it does not change the meaning of the sentence. So the project took 3 weeks. That's really what I want you to know. The additional insight is our adjective clause. As well, if you would like to punctuate or include adjective clauses using a flanking of commas, which means you would flank or on the outside of both ends of that adjective clause with commas, you're welcome to do so. We refer to that as comma splicing. However, again, that's entirely up to your style. All right, sentence number 2, which reads, the athlete who won the race trained for months. Well, what's the main messaging of this sentence? It's the athlete, which is our subject and a noun. They trained for months. That's what I'm trying to tell you. The additional insight would be who won the race. Tells us more about the athlete. Therefore, and I can see here as well, we've started with a relative pronoun. This would be our adjective clause as it explains who this athlete is. All right, moving on to number 3, or what they've done, excuse me. The neighborhood in which we live is very quiet. What's our subject? We're talking about the neighborhood, and I'm trying to let you know that it is very quiet. It's always good to live in a nice, quiet neighborhood. However, I've chosen to include which we live. Oh, no. It actually starts with the preposition. So the neighborhood in which we live would be the complete adjective clause. In this case, as with the other examples, it's referring back to our subject. Not always the case, but in these examples, they will be referring to our subject. Okay, moving on. Sentence number 4. The musician whose album won a Grammy is performing tonight. Okay, I know that our subject is the musician. Well, what did they do? Or what are they doing in this case? They're performing tonight. Great. What addition did I provide regarding the musician or our subject? Well, I think I've said whose album won a Grammy to let you know that this is someone who really is already well known, they're famous, and obviously they've been rewarded for it. Now, again, starts with our relative pronoun. Whose album won a Grammy tells us more about that musician. And looking at sentence number 5, we have the painting that hung in the gallery was stolen. What's the purpose of this sentence? Well, it's to tell you that the painting, which is our subject, well, it was stolen, unfortunately. Okay, well, here I can see that I do have another relative pronoun that hung in the gallery, gives us some additional insights into the subject, which is our painting. Don't forget, for all of the ones that we've gone over, for most adjective clauses, if they're not included, they don't change the meaning of the sentence. If for whatever reason you see that excluding what you think to be an adjective clause does in fact change the meaning of the sentence, then you're likely not dealing with an adjective clause. Okay, hopefully this was helpful and insightful. Let me know what you thought in the comment section below, and feel free to practice your own sentences using perhaps one of each of these relative pronouns in a sentence of your own creation in the comment section below. It'd be interesting to see what you guys come up with. All right, thank you guys again for joining me, and I look forward to working with you in the next one.